Annyeong, everyone. This is my very first actual writer's vlog that I'm doing. I I got sick over this week and this weekend, so I really couldn't do anything. You can hear it in my voice. I'm still a little sick, but show must go on. So I have decided to do this to tackle questions that people are curious about. So one of them is, where do I get the names for my characters? And what sources do I use? I've also been asked how to describe characters' appearances and how to introduce a character into a story. So those are the two questions I'm going to tackle today because they kind of fit with characters. So for me, how I name my characters is either I've had the name for a long time, like in a little, I don't know, sometimes I use a card and have like five of them floating around somewhere. Other times I just reference like a baby name book or one of the websites that I like to use often. Other times, if I have a character that's very unique and traditional names, even non traditional names fit, I tend to search for things like gothic names, gothic girl names or gothic boy names. It all really depends on the character itself. Sometimes I will have characters that don't have a name or their name was lost because I have 2,000 of them, so it sometimes they do get lost, quite literally get lost. And other times I'll have a character that I didn't really set up much of their profile, and all of a sudden I'll be like, the story idea that I have for them is perfect. So that's how I kind of go about it. I just decide what I'm going to do with the character, and I go from there. But what I always suggest to every writer, new and even experienced writers, and I've been told this myself when I was younger, is start creating a profile for your character. Like, I don't, I, I don't know. I'm working on this story that I am using characters that my friends have created, kind of like based on them. Now, I haven't actually started the whole story yet, but I have it in my head and I should get it out. Um, sorry, tangent. Um, so for them, what I asked them to do was give me basic stuff, like name, age, um, female, male, and they if they wanted their character to be like um, some kind of supernatural creature, like vampire, mermaid, um, god, goddess, that kind of stuff. So I asked them to set that up, and then I just kind of take it from there and I make it a profile. But for me, my most basic setup is name, age, sex. If they are some kind of supernatural creature, if they're a fighter or if they're a magic user, what kind of magic, their element, um, basic appearance, like eyes, hair, skin. I'll even include like jewelry that is very commented for them, or trying to think of what else. I do about everything that I can imagine for my characters, honestly. Um, I'll even go so far as to describe their weapon, and obviously, you don't have to go to this extreme when it comes to your characters, but I'm just saying to kind of build up your character profile And don't worry about the name first, because sometimes a name comes after you've created them, and make sure that they have a personality. Take from your own personality, from maybe from your favorite actor or actress, your favorite K-pop idol, um, all kinds of places that you can take to make this character their own. And after I'm done with the profile, sometimes mine get really drawn out, and other times I'm like, I just have a basic appearance for them. I'll look at them and I'll think, what kind of setting are they going to be in? Can I use them in more places than just one, or can they be across the broad spectrum of my stories? So if they can't be used in more than one or two stories, then I don't really worry too much about their name. I kind of give them a basic name. Like, uh, one of them was Miranda, and another was, um, one of my villain characters ended up with the name Colander. Weird name, but he was a throwaway villain. So that's usually what I do to my villains. I give them really weird names that is going to be memorable to the reader, and then I kind of once they're dead, they're dead. um, but other than that, if I really spent a lot of time on my character, I would really think about their name, and if they can fit my broad spectrum of my stories, I really do work hard on the name. So it just really depends on if all my criteria is covered for my characters to get the kind of name that I want them. Other times the name will smack me in the face and be like, yeah, you're naming one of your characters this. I don't care, but you're going to use this name. You're going to use me. And I just have to throw my hands up. Okay, okay, I'll figure out a character for you. I may never use that character, or it may be a long time before, but I like to create characters, and I like to make them unique and unusual, and other times I like to make them completely relatable. I always like to make my characters relatable. Um, but one of the sources that I do like to use is babynames.com. That seems to be the one that I go to a lot, as well as Babbel.com that has a baby names thing there that I like to go to as well. And again, if I really want a unique or unusual name, I will actually go into a and search a specific. I've searched gothic baby girl names. I've searched, celebrity unique baby names. And I haven't I don't think I used any of them, but I've searched them and they help give me ideas. Um, but it, that's that's the main thing that I do with my characters for naming them is I do create their profile and I will figure out the basics. Always figure out your basics with characters. That way they have um, a little bit of substance when you put them in your stories. So the other question that I got asked, and I always tend to get asked, is how to describe a character's appearance, or introduce a character. It depends on the type of character. You always want to introduce like your main character, your hero, I guess, if you want to call it that, kind of right away, unless you're setting the scene. It really there's really no rule on how to introduce your character when. It's just how it feels right to you. And if you have a hard time, maybe think of their introduction first. Like for a while there, I was having a hard time introducing a couple of my characters, and I had no clue how to introduce them into the story that I was writing. It was for them. So I had to take a break from that story and had to kind of write their little introduction story, which kind of gives them a normal setting. Like for one of them, I just wrote, I uh, I just wrote I just wrote a basic nothing story for them, and it was mostly just to help me. But I let one of my friends read it because she always gives me her opinion on everything, and I love that she gives me her opinion. I let her read it, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is like a story." I was like, "Okay, well, now it is." It wasn't before, but like one of them, I had wrote the story. This was their very first story that I wrote, which it's called Society in the Godai, which is a Monster X and BTS fanfic, which I will be posting on my archive soon. I don't know when, but the couple of characters in there, I just put together real quick, and they were in the story. So I was kind of going on the fly with them personally, for their appearance and everything, but I wanted them to have unusual features. So um, one of my main things is to for my characters to have features that people can relate to. So while most of my characters are of Asian descent, they are usually mixed with something else. So I always make sure that my characters have dominant, um, what am I trying to say? Dominant features of them, of their, I can't remember what I was saying, dominant features of their nationality. So while it's mostly Asian, they will have basic Asian features. But for these particular characters for this story, I wanted them to have unusual hair colors. So I go on the internet and I search up unusual hair colors. And oh my God, it pulled up all kinds of colors. So one of them has like a purplish color hair, kind of reminds me of Jungkook from Dope Era. It's kind of what I kind of matched it to. A little bit. Um, it's not as unusual, but one of them has rainbow hair, and it's not dyed; it's natural for her. So it's a natural hair color. So it's really, um, it was a really cool um, picture that I saw. So I saved it, and this is how I end up building my characters. I I go and search all kinds of different things. I will search up, um, facial structures, how to describe it, how to describe body shapes, because every culture has different ways of describing body shapes. So I look back at how I described mine and I kind of mashed it with all different kinds of explanations to make it relatable so people knew what they looked like. Um, I didn't realize this was going to get this long, but I want to tell how I do it so you guys will be able to create characters that you're happy with and you don't feel as cumbered encumbered by them. That's the right word. um, but I end up building an actual file, an archive of a lot of my characters, like from the clothes that they would wear to their body shapes, their hair colors, even their jewelry that I'll go and search up. And I've even done it where I set my files up where one of my characters, I took like 12 pictures of a classic car that is what she would drive. So yeah, I get really all into describing my characters because I want them to seem authentic, real, somebody that could be possibly alive in this world, even though, well, but that is one of the basics that I do for describing my characters. I will always make sure I know their hair color, their skin tone, how tall they are. For me, I tend to keep my characters right around my height. Anything taller, and I'm like, oh, you're too tall for me. um, but then I'll start to get into their aesthetics, their clothes. If you're introducing your character for the first time to the situation, the scene, or to your reader, make sure you know what they're wearing and the reader knows what. So even if you just say right now at the moment a black t-shirt and black shorts, that gives your character depth to your reader already. And it starts to create a picture in their head. And as it goes on, you might start wanting to describe that shirt. It's a lightweight V-neck tee with a little pocket over the left breast or over the right breast, or it has a little red alligator on the left breast, or it's a very expensive mulberry silk blouse that has slits up to the bust. You can definitely start to get really into describing your character's clothes. And it might seem like a lot at first because you're getting really wordy, and that happens. Let's be honest, I do too. But once you start getting used to writing your character's clothes and their appearance, you'll start to find different ways of condensing your words, making them flow a lot easier. And before you know it, you know, um, you'll be able to find a brand of that t-shirt, and you'll be able to say, like, oh, my character is wearing a black and white striped Puma shirt. Just throwing it out there. Um, but that's always the best way to go, is to start looking up things and describing it. Like for me, when I look up my character's clothes, I look up, um, distressed jeans or ripped jeans. I've even done it where I look up like gothic clothes, because my characters and my stories are very gothic influenced. So I go that way in describing their clothes. And sometimes my clothes for my characters seem a little preppy, but it kind of matches them. So you want to make sure that your clothes match your character, because they essentially become their identity for your reader. And you don't want to make the clothes and the character not mesh well, because then the reader might get confused, or the reader might lose interest in that character because the clothes don't seem to fit. And um, for introducing a character, it's all on you how you want to do it. Like if you're introducing a regular character that you know, and maybe you've used them in other stories before, but the reader doesn't know them, you want to make sure that you establish some kind of groundwork with them, with the reader, saying, um, you want to identify them by their name, you want to give their basic appearance, their shirt, shirt, sorry, their hair, eye color, um, their skin color. Even if the person they're interacting with already knows this, you want to make sure your reader knows it. So every time I introduce one of my characters, I always make sure that I give their basic appearance and so that the reader establishes who they are. And I make sure that their name is known, even if the other character yours is interacting with already knows them. It just it really helps the reader. I think that's all I have as far as characters goes. I know I'll be revisiting this subject quite a bit as I go along in this vlog. But characters is one of my most favorite things in the world to do. Like I said, I have over 2,000 characters. That's not even counting the countless villains that I've created and killed off. Um, but it's definitely something that I like doing. And I think I spend the most time, if not the second most time, um, creating my characters. It may not seem like it, but um, I have so much content in my other characters' profiles and saved on my computer, which is my lifeline, that it doesn't take me long at all to create a character. You know, um, I just find it therapeutic for me when writing to create a character. I've done it where I'll write a character and it's just going to be a throwaway character, and all of a sudden, oh look, another one's born. um, but yeah, that's how I do it. So I hope that I've answered your question, and if not, again, like I said, I'll be revisiting this subject quite a bit. It's one of my favorite subjects in the world. Um, but I want everyone to take something away from this, and I hope that it's a little bit easier for you to create a character. So, like I said, make sure that you have the basics down: name, age, sex, obvious. The basic appearance: eyes, hair, skin tone, and are they going identify them if they're going to be some kind of supernatural creature, vampire, mermaid, werewolf, um, what else? Then identify their job description if they have one. That's something I forgot. Identify their job description, identify their personality. Even if you find, 5 things to identify them. Like, I started creating a whole little file of personality traits, and I got this off of The Sims. Of all places, I got it off of The Sims. One of them is like witty, charismatic, um, opinionated, thoughtful, kind, um, closed, closed off, loner. Um, you can even use like dark and brooding, and those are some of the personality traits that set your character. Then also make sure that if they are a fighter, you know, give them a weapon, create a weapon, basic weapon. You don't have to get all into it. Eventually, as you get comfortable with create that character, you will start to develop their weapon. And I've always done it where it's like swords, stabs, daggers, um, guns, bow and arrow, and then as I get comfortable with the character, that's when I start to describe the weapons itself. like a bow and arrow made of, we'll just say, willow bark with an ivory handle, a silver string for your arrows. Then you can really get into the description of your weapons. And if you're not good with descriptive words, look it up. You know what I mean? Look up descriptive words, words, or how to describe weaponry. It'll give you a good list. And the next time I come on, I'll make sure to have a list of all the different kinds of um, weapons and where you can go to get those. But you'll learn as you get into writing and get deeper into your writing, your vocabulary will just all of a sudden go and explode. All of a sudden you'll be like saying these long words, and everybody's like, "What did you just say?" You're like, "Oh, it means this." Shortened. But yeah, then let's see what else. Then if you want, you can even set like their favorite colors, their favorite jewelry, their favorite flowers, or their favorite place to go on vacation, stuff like that, to start getting you familiar with your character. So you can start to, oh, this doesn't sound weird, start to create a bond with your character. I know it sounds weird, and I'm sorry if it sounds a little creepy, but when you're a writer, your characters are basically what move your story forward. So, all right, I'm already at almost 30 minutes here of just talking about characters, and trust me, I could go on for hours. But I will end it here, and I will say, all of you, thank you for coming back to watch me and listen to me babble on and try and answer a question about characters. Please don't be afraid. Submit your own questions either in the comments below or on one of my other social media. I will be posting all of my social media sites. So follow, follow, follow. Um, and just ask away. Don't be afraid. Let your imagination run wild. Annyeong, everyone!